Hello, Coach. Good morning.
Hi, Coach.
I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
I would love to know about the location we're in, how many years you've coached, what sports have you coached, the demographics, and some highlights of your coaching career. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I've been a coach for about 18 years now in Walk Hill Central School District. I currently coach girls varsity soccer, and I coach the softball team. The demographics of our school, I would say, is middle class, blue collar, no really inner city children. Some highlights from my career have been, obviously I've had a Division I softball player that I coached, so I'm very proud of that. And winning the Section 9 championship for softball, I'm very proud of that.
Absolutely.
And just raising wonderful children.
And you're also an All-American.
I was an All-American.
Can't forget
in
that.
my own personal experience, yes.
Yes. All right. So, question number one for you.
Okay.
Is sportsmanship an important part of your coaching philosophy, and why?
So actually, yes, I do believe that sportsmanship is a very important part of a coaching philosophy. When I write have my own coaching philosophy, I think it's important to remember not just the X's and O's of the game, but that you're trying to teach the kids on your team how to be respectful, how to work with others, and be able to go through different situations of adversity and come out with a positive attitude. So I do think that part of what you do as a coach reflects on how you teach sportsmanship to your kids.
I agree. Another question. What one event regarding good sportsmanship sticks out the most from your experiences?
So I've had a lot of experience with sportsmanship, specifically during soccer. One of the girls we were playing against, she tripped and dislocated her elbow. So my girls went over to her, helped her off the field. Even the referee didn't stop time was still going. They took it upon themselves to just walk over and make sure that she was okay and helped her off the field because of her injuries. Some other sportsmanship stuff that I've seen, there was a softball player who hit a home run and she couldn't jog around the bases because as she was turning first, she actually tore her ACL.
Oh.
So the opposing team actually picked her up and carried her base to base and let her foot touch each base so she could get the home run. That team ended up losing, but I thought that was a really experience that really sticks out, that it's just more than the game, it's about who you are.
Exactly. Who you are. All right, we'll move on to the next question. Have you ever had issues with players where they've been reprimanded regarding unsportsmanlike conduct, either during a practice or a competition?
So I have not personally had to reprimand any of my players, but I've seen it happen with opposing players, and it just makes for an awkward thing to observe, people being, reprimanded for not acting out of respect or doing something that they shouldn't have said. So I haven't personally done it, but I've seen other coaches have to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens. Have you dealt with unsportsmanlike issues on your team? Consequences, penalties, anything along those lines?
So me personally, no, but coaches who have coached under me and under my program at the JV and modified level, they've had to deal with some unsportsmanlike on their teams, and usually I will intervene and just more or less address it as this affects the program and not just yourself and your team. And there is consequences, whether it's a formal apology, whether it's loss of playing time.
Absolutely.
But I dealt with it as a program, not just on a specific team, just so that they know moving up through the program that kind of behavior is not acceptable.
Yes. Are you familiar with the term gamesmanship? And if not, I can explain to you what it entitles.
So I think I have a grasp on it, but Coach, why don't you just refresh my memory while I look through my notes?
So it's sort of the opposite of sportsmanship, where gamesmanship is more winning at all costs, no matter if it requires cheating or going out of the boundaries or doing something unethical.
Yeah. Definitely have experienced with gamemanship. As far as with soccer, usually if teams are winning, they'll sub the far opposite person from the side of the field. They'll walk over, they won't jog off the field. Fake injuries to run time off the clock. On the softball field, sign stealing, yelling out certain things to try and get into the pitcher's head, or not, the catcher taking too much time to put their stuff on. So yeah, I have experienced that more than unsportsmanlike.
I feel like
stuff.
the fake injuries is a big one. Whether
Yes.
it's football or whatever sport it might be, kids are always faking injuries, trying to draw time.
Yeah,
Whatever it may be. Do you utilize gamesmanship as part of your coaching strategy? And if so, could you use an example?
So I always try to have good gamemanship, if there's such a term for it.
Yeah.
So having the kids hustle on and off the field, in between innings, making sure that we're not, we're prompt to our games and we're prompt with our warm up and we're not taking time away from the other team.
Yep.
Being respectful with our cheers and making sure that it stays positive in between the lines on the field.
Absolutely. Would you consider gamesmanship as taking advantage of the rules or cheating? Do you feel that any advantages gained is ethical?
So I think the difference between coaching women and men, I think a lot of times psychological. As a coach, it could be a disadvantage if you know how to get into your opponent's headspace, so to say.
Yeah.
So I think that, especially in softball and women's soccer, that teams will use that to their advantage if they're able to do that. Do I think it's fair? No, but I also think that as an athlete, you have to develop ways to block certain things out that other teams are doing.
Absolutely. Do you utilize a positive strategy regarding diversity on your teams? If you do, what is one strategy that you use?
So working in a school, you get to see kids with all different types of backgrounds and religions and gender fluidity and socioeconomic. So I think that what I do is I always have my kids sit down and we take each other's pregame rituals into consideration. So one thing that I brought to the team was holding the rope, which means you're responsible for not only yourself but for everybody else on the team. There was another girl who dealt with some gender issues, so she would always tie bows in her hair. So the team, to give the stigma of that she was girly, so we adopted putting bows in our hair so that she wouldn't feel isolated or made, not part of something like that. So I do think you can rely on everyone's background to pull a little something so everyone feels like part of the team.
Spectacular. Have you had to deal with any diversity issues with your team members, such as players not accepting teammates due to gender identification, socioeconomic status, religion, or racial background?
So back to that comment I made about the girl with the bow in her hair. So she was going through some transitioning periods and she wanted to feel like she was still part of the team, and so she decided to put bows in her hair, and she just wanted to be accepted, and actually turned into something positive because then my team adopted that so she wouldn't feel like she didn't belong as part of a team. Just think you have to keep an open mind and not be so closed-minded, and some people may accept certain things and some don't.
Exactly. Perfect. Do you address diversity acceptance in your preseason, and do you feel it is a necessary element in your coaching responsibilities?
Yes, of course. I mean, we all want to be treated with respect and dignity, and it shouldn't matter whether you're white, blue, yellow, who you love, that thing should not affect anything on the game field. You're there as a team.
Yeah. All right. Well, I thank you for your participation in this project, and I just wanted to emphasize that we are not judging your programs, but raising recent issues in sports from an awareness perspective that we all benefit from.
Awesome.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, Coach.
It was an honor.
Yes.